Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm Bruce McCurdy with the Cult of Hockey, and I'm here with my colleague Kurt Levins. Hello, Kurt.
Hello, Bruce. I think this is the first for you and I one-on-one Cult of Hockey podcast.
Sure is. It's nice having an ace in the hole when David goes away, or when I go away, as you filled in for me when I was on the island in the beginning of the season. And you're out there.
I can be the Cult of Hockey curler. I'll be the spare for both of you.
Right. Well, that's nice to have a third, that's for sure. And you're out there on Pender Island. How's the weather out there on Pender?
It's been lovely for the last 3 weeks. So I know Edmonton's kind of started to dive into a little bit of cold and some of the snow. I could cut the grass here. It's lovely and green and mild. So sorry to report.
Still swimming?
Little cold for swimming now, but I'm still out on the deck with a cup of coffee every morning. So.
Well, I was out in Vancouver Island there last month, and man, it's a beautiful part of the world. So I envy you that. So tonight we have good things to talk about. We have another resounding victory for the good guys, the Edmonton Oilers, who pounded the Colorado Avalanche to the tune of 6-2. The third time in the last 4 games that the Oilers have stomped an opponent by 4 goals. Which is a very pleasant change of pace from, I don't mind tight games, but it's nice to get a breather once in a while, and we've had a few of late, which we'll talk more about near the end. But for now, we've got lots of good things to talk about, including big nights from several of the Oilers stars, and some more underrated contributions from other players scattered throughout the lineup. So, as usual, we do 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. But also, as is becoming usual in very good nights, we're going to do 2 good things each. So it'll actually be 4 good things. So I'm going to give you the first dibs, Kurt, on what was a good thing that stood out for you in this game.
Okay, well, as we know, the Avalanche got off to an early 1-0 lead, and I think probably a lot of us were going, ooh. Because I don't know about you, Bruce, but I was worried about this game because Colorado's a good club. Despite injuries, they've been playing great, and this will be a real test for this club. And at 1-0, I really wasn't sure where it was going to go. But then 2 things happened. One was the Zach Kassian hit on Nate MacKinnon. And MacKinnon is not a small man, and Kassian just ran right over him like a locomotive. And I didn't think MacKinnon was the same the rest of the night, really. I don't know how you felt, Bruce, but I really thought it took the wind out of his sails. Then the Oilers took a penalty, and I thought, well, that could be bad. If we go down 2-0, I don't want to be chasing against this team. But you know what? The PK was perfect on that first period kill, as they were the rest of the night. They went 0 for 5. I think they're 17 for 17 over their last, I think it's 4 games now. And so it seemed to me that the Kassian hit against the Avalanche best player, along with a PK, which stopped the bleeding in a 1-0 game, turned the momentum, and then handed the puck over to McDavid and Draisaitl, and they kind of did the rest. So that was my good thing, was the Kassian hit and the PK turning the tide early in the first period.
Okay, yeah, all right. Did the Kassian hit, did you think it crossed the line in any way?
No, I didn't think so at all. I mean, it's MacKinnon was far enough away from the boards. I saw no contact with the head. Kassian's elbow didn't come up. I didn't think it was a charge. And I'd say, gauging by the way MacKinnon reacted, I imagine he didn't think so either. Although I think he was rather busy shaking out some cobwebs at the time. Of course, a fight ensued, but I mean, Kassian had the reach and the weight advantage in that fight, and it didn't really end up much of a scrap, at least from an Avalanche standpoint, as Kassian cleaned that up pretty tidily as well.
Yeah, well, Matt Calvert, he's a player I've admired actually for a long time as just an honest grinder. I enjoyed him when he played with Columbus for many years, and you got to give him points for courage.
Absolutely, because I mean, he's fighting outside of his weight class against Kassian.
He was the closest guy, and Kassian really clobbered, their best player, or certainly one of their very best players. And so The line I think that it maybe crossed from a Colorado perspective was not that it was an illegal or dirty hit, but it was just the violence of it. I think players have a standard, like some fans say, hey, that was a clean hit. Why do they always fight not for clean hits? But I think the fights happen after the particularly heavy hits where
Hmm.
a vulnerable player gets smoked, and that's basically what happened there. McKinnon stopped up and Cassian didn't, and holy moly, that was a hell of a collision very, very early in the
Yeah,
game.
it sure was one of a
And,
couple of big ones that
and
Cassian
the
dished out on the
and the
night.
fight actually canceled the 2-on-1 that McDavid and Draisaitl had going the other way. So I was temporarily annoyed, but
Yeah.
that annoyance went away very quickly. My good thing, how can it not be Connor McDavid tonight? And he was front and center, uh, and he wound up being involved in all six of the Edmonton goals, three assists, sort of very even involvement of dishing the puck, and also just enough selfishness. And I'm happy, happy, happy to see this with David. That could fly with that great wrist shot of his from range, and
Hmm.
he's been overpassing in the view of myself and many other people have said the same thing. And McDavid even has self-criticized himself at times, saying, maybe I passed where I should have shot. And tonight he had a shoot first mentality, and all three of his goals came on the power play, and all three of them came from distance, like
Yeah.
probably 25, 30 feet out, and he just blew away the poor netminder there. What's his name? Adam Werner, playing his second career game, and he has to go up against the likes of Connor McDavid, and he came out second best in that contest.
Yeah, he had a
But
shutout in his first game, right?
he had a shared shutout. It was a bizarre thing. It was like kind of like the Ernie Shore perfect game in baseball, where he came in 31 seconds into the game after Francouz had been injured in a goalmouth collision. So he didn't get the start, and he faced all 40 shots that Winnipeg took and stopped them all. But the team got a shutout, and he didn't. But it was a very memorable debut for Werner, and a very forgettable uh, second game, or at least he probably hopes he forgets it soon, because he got lit up pretty good tonight.
And those three McDavid goals were really three very different ones too. I mean, one was kind of a shot from the side. One he broke in off the wall, and the other one he just kind of flew in off the rush and split the defense and shot. So all three were kind of different spots on the ice. But I'm with you. It's nice to see him shooting and being just a wee bit selfish.
6 shots tonight for McDavid, but also, plenty of passes. I mean, he got 3 assists for starters.
Hmm.
And this was one night. I mean, most of this year, on many nights, even when they're playing well, I've seen Leon Draisaitl as McDavid's equal or even the better player on many nights. But tonight, even though Leon almost kept up in the points department with 5 assists, it was Connor's night, and he was the driver. And Leon actually got a couple of cheap points for a change. And I mean, he played well, but I think Connor was just head and shoulders the best player on either team in this game. And hats off, he had a phenomenal performance and 6 points, a career high to
Yeah.
show for
Yeah, well, 4 in the first period, 6/2. I wondered if Sam Gagne was sitting upstairs in the press box, wondering if his tied record was going to be in danger tonight. So,
it. Yeah. So anyway, out of all that, what do you got for a bad thing tonight, Kurt?
well, as much as I just praised the Oilers' penalty kill, which really has been excellent lately, and primarily staffed by players that typically play bottom 6 minutes, they still can't score. And tonight, Riley Sheahan, who was excellent, played over 5 minutes, I think it was, on the PK, but
Or,
offensively just
uh,
can't get anything going. And Archibald, I thought, was the same, was very good in the PK, but really got nothing done up on that second line with Nugent Hopkins and Neal, 5-on-5, and Jujar Kara again. I think puts in a very good effort on the penalty kill. He's a big man with a good reach, skates quite well. But boy, when the puck hits his stick, JJ just struggles. And so I admire the defensive effort they put in, but at some point, those guys just have to chip in, um, certainly more consistently than they have been in the first 21 games.
not so much as a shot attempt for Kara tonight. Archibald, to his credit, had a couple of shots and a couple of missed shots, and at least he was firing away, and he had 3 hits. a couple block shots. Like he was involved all over the ice, but his finishing touch, boy, when he got a chance in the slot, that was when he turned into. Can't remember what I said to my wife. I think I called them Keystone Cops, one of those bottom six lines at one time, when it looked like they had a surefire chance to put one in the net, and they found a way to screw it up.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, when your big guys get six, your bottom six's job is to do what they did, which is kill penalties and limit the damage going the other way. So it's hard to be too critical, but it would be nice to get a little more scoring from down there. I gotta agree.
Yep.
For my bad thing, I'm just going to go with just the way the Oilers ended the periods tonight's game. And in the first, second, even the third period, which of course was completely garbage time, the last minute, they took a penalty in the dying seconds of all three periods. And it was just a fire drill, both before and after the penalty, and especially those first two periods, where they just couldn't get out of their own way, let alone get the puck out of their end, and it was chase. I mean, they had two video reviews in the last 20 seconds of the first period. One where Mike Smith sat on a puck that was basically right on the goal line, and who knows whether it squibs over or not. I mean, one thing he covered was all camera angles to see where that puck actually was.
I think the word is inconclusive on that one.
Yeah. The refs didn't call it a goal on the ice, and there was no chance they were going to overturn it on the replay. And then there's 17 seconds left in the period or something, and you think, okay, we're going to get to the buzzer now, no problem. And it was just another fire drill. And Nazem Kadri scored about 0.2 seconds after the green light went on at the end of the period. It was an easy review in the end, but it was close. I mean, it's just a couple of tenths. Yeah. But again, it was a case where they just couldn't win that one decisive puck battle to relieve the stress. And again, the second period, same thing, right down the stretch was, fire drill, penalty, more fire drill, and just getting to the buzzer. And what you see mature teams do, Kurt, is especially when they're leading or playing in tie games, they get through those last minutes of the period, and they may not make a lot happen, but they don't give up a lot, and that's an area where maybe the Oilers need to mature a little, at least. Yeah. Tonight's show.
I would agree. I thought they were better in that regard in the third period, but again, the game's out of reach by that point, and I completely concur with the two instances that you described at the end of the first two periods. So.
Yeah, funny. They got 5 penalties tonight, Edmonton. And 3 of them came at 1924, 1955, and 1937.
When they're just hanging on by their chinny chin chins.
Well, they kept starting the next period, with a significant penalty to kill, but they got through them, and as you say, the penalty killers got the job done. So hats off to those guys. What do you got for a number tonight, Kurt?
My number tonight, Bruce, is 96.
Wow.
96. Of course, the Oilers came out in a big way in the first period, and Connor McDavid had 4 points in the first period alone, as we alluded to off the top of the podcast. The last time an Oiler had 4 points after the first period was in 1996, and it was Jason Arnott. That night against the Montreal Canadiens had 4 points in the first 20 minutes of play. And so it's been some time since we've seen that kind of an offensive explosion from any Oiler, and a lot of good players have gone under the bridge between now and then. So it's a feat of some distinction, I would suggest.
I guess Jason must have been into it that night, eh?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, for sure.
His infamous comment, I just wasn't into it, though. One night, he was just speaking what was on his mind, but man, that actually greased the skids for him leaving town, I think. He took so much blowback on that.
Yep.
So, unfortunate. So, I've got for a number, I've actually got a couple of numbers. I have 1755 and 1658. And that was the ice time tonight for Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
Wow.
And you know what? It is 4 games in a row for both players to be under 20 minutes, which all year they had like 1 game each where they were under 20. and a lot of games where they were 23, 25, even pushing north at 27 a couple of times. And I thought their play was flagging at times as a result of that heavy use. And
Mm-hmm.
you keep thinking, well, one of these nights we're going to get a blowout, one way or the other, and these guys are going to get to catch their wind a little bit. Well, now we've had 4 blowouts in a row, 3 the good way, 1 the bad way. And in those last 4 games, McDavid has averaged under 18 minutes a night, and Leon just barely over 18 minutes a night, so far below the leading totals that they've compiled till now. And it's showing well on them. I mean, McDavid on the season, he's played 5 games below 20 minutes, and in those 5 games, 7 goals, 9 assists, 4 blowout wins for the Oilers. So I mean, obviously, the one leads to the other. They score early, and they can take a rest down the stretch a little bit. We saw it in spades tonight when Tippett benched them on the last power play of the game, and just gave them the rest of the night off kind of thing as reward for their great effort. So
Of course,
I think,
a big switch for Draisaitl because he was only on the ice for 30 seconds of PK time tonight. So that's a big change over the last few games, which is particularly since Sheehan has come back. That's been a real switch for him. And as you say, if they can get a few games like that in a row where they're not over 20 minutes, they're going to have one of those games where they really need to ride them heavy, and they'll be fresh as opposed to last year. Every time, Hitch was running both of those horses awfully hard all year because he kind of had to. And some nights we watched them just run on the gas. Yeah. And so, I agree. This is a harbinger, I think, of good things to come.
Yeah, well, they played 4 games in 7 days now, and they're each just around 72 minutes, which, that's 3 games worth of work for those guys at many points in the season. So I'm thinking that their batteries, if they're not fully recharged, they're a lot of the way back to maximum. And as you say, there'll be nights. Obviously, not every game is going to be a 3 or 4 goal blowout, but there'll be games where they're going to have a little bit more juice, just a little more jump in their step, and keep it into deep in the game. And as you say, I mean, sometimes see those guys play 23, 25 minutes, and then just towards the very end of the game is when you need that extra little burst. It's just maybe not there, and so I think this bodes very well. And it's just nice to see the team get in the habit of kicking the crap out of the other team once in a while, as opposed to hanging on and needing a big save or a goal post in the dying seconds.
I agree with that.
And like I say, three 4-goal wins in the last 4 games were the first 3 of the entire year where they beat an opponent by that much. So let's enjoy it. I mean, that obviously won't last forever, but it's just nice to see them get a taste of jumping on top of the team early and just building on the lead and putting a game out of doubt so that the third period is garbage time. And that's really what you want, is garbage time with a big lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought Caleb Jones was calm and collected and played a very non-high event game, which is probably what you want your first game up from the AHL.
Very quiet, and that's I said to my wife in the third period, I thought, I barely noticed the guy. And when you're talking about defensemen, David talked about this the other day. Not noticing a defenseman is mainly a good thing. Not noticing a forward, not so much. But Jones, he didn't get into any trouble. And given that, it was interesting too, the ice time for the 2 of them, considering he was playing with Flatball. Oscar played 27 minutes and 30 seconds, and Caleb Jones played 14 minutes and 40 seconds. So the highest and lowest on the team. Now, Oscar, of course, a big chunk of that, in fact, over 10 minutes of that was on special teams. He's a big minute muncher on both special teams.
5:45 PK and 4:24 in the power play.
And even strength, it was 17 to 14 kind of switch. So Oscar did get a few extra minutes, but I didn't look at figure out exactly why where they differed, where maybe Oscar got extra shifts or he just stayed out a little longer or what have you. But somehow they managed to get through that, where Oscar, he's faced a big challenge this year, in that he's not had a partner at any point where you would say, well, that guy is a solid, proven NHL top four right defenseman.
Yep,
Right,
agreed.
he's had a veteran defenseman and Chris Russell playing his wrong side, and he's had a couple of rookies, and he's treading water some nights, but some nights he's carrying his partner too. I mean, I've thought a couple games where he was cleaning up a few messes for Joel Pearson in particular.
Yeah, certainly in terms of time on ice, he's been the club's #1 defenseman all year. So.
Yeah, Nurse and Bear maybe play a little more at even strength, but like I say, Oscar is just munching big minutes on both special teams. So
yeah, makes that contract look like a good deal, doesn't it, Bruce? When you see that kind of time on ice coming from Oscar.
4th in the league, I think he is for D-man, or 5th. He's right up there with the very top workhorses in the league in terms of ice time. And even tonight with the blowout, you might think, well, maybe they'll do the same thing with Oscar that they would with Connor and Leon and give him a breather. But he played 27 and a half minutes, so
they kept rolling him out there.
Of course, a D-man, he can pick his spots a little bit more. It's possible to, as our friend Lowtide says sometimes, sit in a rocking chair and play defense. And I mean, Chris Pronger, we used to watch that guy play 29 or 30 minutes, and it didn't seem like he'd work up a sweat, but he could sure turn on the jets for 5 seconds when he needed to. But in large part, it's just a matter of being in the right place and controlling the tempo of the game, and dealing with emergencies as they arrive. And Oscar had 3 assists tonight to boot, so he was a big contributor in this game.
Yeah, he'd gone quiet points-wise in a while, but last few games he's been back at it again. So
yeah, 12 games without a point, and then or 11, and then the 12th game he got a couple assists in Anaheim, and then 3 more tonight. And here's one statistical oddity. I mean, there's one game in between, but they beat Anaheim 6-2 on Sunday on a hat trick by McDavid, 2 goals from Nugent Hopkins, 1 from Cassian, and tonight they beat Colorado, same score, 6-2, same goal scores. McDavid 3, RNH 2, Cassian 1. Well,
rinse, repeat.
Pretty strange to see that many goals. I mean, often you'll see a team get 2 goals in two straight games, and it'll be the same goal scores. But 6 is a lot of goals to have an identical distribution. So, just one of those odd little weird things. So, any final thoughts, Chris?
You know what? Only that when I kind of mentioned a while ago that I was a little worried about this game tonight. I think a lot of the reason why I was worried was because of the Avalanche's speed. Even with a couple of their really good players, though, this is still a fast club. But I didn't see the Oilers having any real struggles keeping up with that pace tonight. Now, I think Dave Tippett adjusted his lineup accordingly and put all of his quickest of foot players in, but I was pleased with how the Oilers were able to keep up with the Avalanche's pace tonight, because I felt that would be their biggest challenge.
Well, just to name 4 guys that haven't been every night players for the Oilers this year: Gaetan Haas, Joachim Nygaard, Josh Archibald, and Caleb Jones. All speedy guys. And it's a faster team with those guys, certainly with them all in the lineup. Team speed is no longer the issue that it can be and has been in years past. I think that was a real target of Ken Holland this summer, was getting some more speed throughout the lineup.
So yeah, I think that was the only other kind of thing I spotted on tonight. How about you?
Mostly that they just put it to bed so early that it was just a matter of, and I mean, both teams knew it. Colorado, with all their injuries, they knew they weren't coming back in this game. And
the rink was pretty quiet, wasn't it?
Yeah, it got pretty quiet in the third.
Yeah.
But being in command, like I say, that's where you want to be. So next up is Red Hot Dallas Stars on Saturday afternoon, another 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon home game, which is something they're trying different this year. And that'll be a big test for the Oilers as well on Saturday. I think you and I will be doing that one as well because David's off to Calgary for a hockey tournament. He's coaching this weekend. He plays and coaches. I don't know how he finds time to do all the other stuff he does, like his day job and all the stuff he does for the Colta hockey. And anyway.
Well, if he's spending part of the weekend in Calgary, Bruce, I'd say you and I won the toss.
Yeah, that's right. You're on Pender Island. You're really coming out on top in this exchange. But yeah, we don't have to go to Calgary, so that's we can just keep the home fires burning, and we'll have another podcast on Saturday afternoon, and look forward to seeing you there. So for now, thanks for talking to us tonight, Kurt.
It's been fun, Bruce. Thanks a bunch.
All right. In the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.